Gobble, gobble, gobble. What's up, guys? VCU 86, Virginia Tech 68 in the third place game of the Battle for Atlantis. Today on Black Friday, I'm Zach Joachim. This is On the Horn. I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And nobody let VCU near the leftover turkey ever again. That was my lead in the story. Yes, it's cheesy, but with VCU playing the Hokies on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, you can't help but use the roasting, cooking, basting lines here in the story. Chris Kowalczyk at VCU just sent out their recap for the game. I think they went with roasting. Really impressive performance for the Rams. Hokies were shorthanded, no Toby Lawal, so we did not get the Toby Lawal grudge match against his former program. That's a shame because he had a heck of a year last year and is a huge piece for Tech. So with the caveat that they were a little shorthanded, VCU dominated this game, right? You end up winning by 18. It's the first time they've met since that infamous 82-52 VCU win at the Richmond Coliseum in 2013. Rams improved to 12-10 all time against the Hokies. Terrence Hill Jr., my goodness. I think Matt Shelton of Ram Nation tweeted out the Terrence Hill Jr. game. And what a special sophomore season he's having right now. We've said it before, I'll say it again. We saw the flashes as a freshman, but he has been given the opportunity to blossom under Phil Martelli. And through 8 games, he's doing it. Career high 21 points for Terrence Hill, sank all 5 of his 3-point attempts. That brings him to 20 of 40 from beyond the arc through 8 games this season. He's shooting 50%, which is absurd. VCU improved to 5-3. Tech dropped to 6-2. And Barry Evans, the other really big individual story for the Rams of this game, I think. Right, no points in 9 minutes against Vanderbilt the other day. Man, did he bounce back with aplomb. 17 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, did a little bit of everything. VCU led for 36-56 by as much as 20. Here's a Phil Martelli quote on them bouncing back from that loss to Vanderbilt. The 89-74 loss to Vanderbilt the other day with less than 24 hours turnaround to this 10:30 a.m. tip. We have a group that responds. It's a resilient group. They responded to every challenge along the way. That bodes well for success. And VCU started fast, right? In contrast to the South Florida and Vanderbilt games and Utah State, when you had slow starts at all of those games that VCU had to dig themselves out of, they jump out to, what was it, a 15-5 lead out the gates today against Tech. I was still rubbing my eyes and waking up. Phil told me in the post-game press conference I can go back to sleep now. But in the blink of an eye, VCU was up by 10. That's who we have to be. We have to be the aggressor from the get-go. Martelli said. He added that when they met last night, they talked about their identity and how to impose their will earlier in games. So the slow start's certainly a point of emphasis for the staff. We've got to have that swag. We've got to have that aggressive nature. We've got to be disruptors from the get-go. Today, we did from the get-go. We set the tone. And they absolutely did. Jadrian Tracy, catch and shoot 3, made it 25-15. So it was 15-5 and then 25-15. Tracy, 13 points, 5 of 10 from the floor, 3 of 5 from 3. VCU shot 11 of 21. That's 52% from beyond the arc. Obviously led by Hill. They were lights out. I don't think Tech is a great defensive team, and that was really exposed today because their closeouts certainly left something to be desired. But then Tech put together its best sequence of the game behind Jaden Schutt, who shot it really well, finished with 15 points. VCU did a great job with adjustments on him in the second half because I think he had 13 at halftime and finished with 15. So he hits a 3 at the top of the wing to cut it to 25-23. That was at the heart of a 12-0 Tech run, and they took their first and only lead at 27-25 after Imani Hansberry. And Imani Hansberry dunk with 7:19 to go until the break. Hansberry had 16 points, matched Tyler Johnson for their team-high scoring output. Looked for a minute like we had a ball game, right? But that was their brightest sequence. Hokies never led or tied again. VCU responded with a 10-0 run of their own. It started by a 6-0 personal run from Evans, who was just committed to attacking the cup all day. He was 8 of 14 from the floor. Loved how he got downhill. Used his physicality, that really long frame that he has. He's a tough matchup. He spent a good deal of time guarding Abdallas, who we'll get to in a second here. But Evans a big part of that 10-0 run. And then Hill catch and shoot 3 at the top of the key. All of a sudden, it's 38-29 again, 3 minutes before intermission. Terrence said before the game, or said after the game in the post-game presser, that when they were looking at film, studying up for before the game, he saw that Tech liked to pack the paint defensively, thought he'd have a lot of time to operate on the perimeter. Coach put me in a lot of actions to get up shots. He's always yelling at me when I get my feet set to shoot the ball, and I took advantage of that today. I always have confidence going into a game. I guess the rim looks bigger than ever right now because I'm shooting so good. Terrence said, coach is yelling at me so much in practice every day to shoot the ball, being on me. We need you to shoot. We need you to shoot when you're open. So I take that confidence into the game. Coach has got to tell me to stop shooting. Phil joked that he needs to get Terrence even more shots and that Terrence gets mad at him right now when he takes him out of the game. And I don't blame Terrence. I don't think Phil does either, because when you're shooting it like that, you want to be out there the whole time and just get as many looks from outside as he can. So VCU reestablished control there. And then Michael Bell, another strong contribution today. What was his final line? 5 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists in 21 minutes. He's 17 over on the plus minus. And I think that Phil Martelli's confidence in him is really growing. And he's getting more and more minutes. And Phil has really quickly learned to appreciate all of the little stuff that Mike brings in terms of the defensive end of the floor and the rebounding battle. But if he's hitting turnaround baseline jumpers like he hit right before the end of the first half, then he's going to be an all A10 honoree if he keeps hitting stuff like that. Because that was a wild shot from Mike. That made it 45-35 at the break, and I think was just kind of one of those demoralizing buckets for VT, because it was one of those where you kind of shake your head as if you're a VCU supporter and say, shoot, everything's fallen today. There was another one of those late in the game, which we'll get to in a minute, but lead balloon to 20 at 59-39 with 6:15 to play after another Hill tray on a dribble handoff from Djokovic, who had 11 points, 5 rebounds. But then Tech went on a spurt, right? They briefly introduced Jeopardy into it, got down to 68-62 after an Isaiah Pasha transition layup headed into the under 8 stoppage. But then a few minutes later, Hill hit his 5th three, this one on the left wing, 75-65. And then a Tech turnover led to a run out and a Hill layup off a Djokovic assist. That made it 77-65, forced a VT timeout with 5:18 to go. And then Evans, the knockout blow, right, with a three from the right wing to cap an 8-0 run, made it 80-65, and that was ball game with a few minutes to play there. Phil said he knew at breakfast that Evans was locked in and primed for a strong performance. Everybody said to him, we have a ton of confidence in Barry Evans. I told him what I've said to him before. I'm very confident in what he is. He has to be very confident in who he is. When he's locked in on the right things, games like this happen. And I think that's so true, that when Barry just kind of focuses on the defensive end and the rebounding battle, he's been a really good rebounder this year and doesn't force things offensively, then good things happen for him. And like I said, I liked his commitment to attacking the cup, using his frame and physicality to get into the lane and finish around the rim, and he did that all day. And then a couple possessions later, here's that second moment that I was talking about. Jadrian Tracy throws up a heave from the left wing at the very end of the shot clock. He did get it off. They had to review it to make sure he got it off, but it fell. 83-68 VCU. That was another one of those moments where it just looked like everything was falling. VCU assisted 13 of its 30 field goals, shot 53% from the floor. Brandon Jennings, 9 points, 3 of 3 from the field, 3 steals, vintage Brandon Jennings effort, I think, especially on the defensive end. Nick Lewis, 7 points, 4 rebounds. Nick Lewis is 28 over on the plus minus in 28 minutes of action. So that really stands out to you on the stat sheet. When the ball flows, we have weapons out there at any given time, Martelli said, but we have to get that thing moving when it moves. It's a thing of beauty for these guys sometimes. And I thought that this was VCU's, not their highest scoring output of the season, but against a good Tech team, probably their most aesthetically pleasing offensive showing of the year against an ACC opponent, putting up 86, controlling this game like they did. And here's Abdalis, who's incredible. And my friend Jackson Didlake has been raving about him, the Greek freshman for the Hokies who's projected as a lottery pick. He's 6'9", 215, amazing skill set. He's 3 of 6 from the floor, 8 points, 5 assists. For a guy as talented as him, I think that's as good as you can hope for from a VCU perspective. Evans and Bell, an enormous tip of the cap to both of them, who spent a lot of time guarding Abdalis. Martelli said he's very good. He likes to play that smooth game. When you give him space, he can make all the reads. We just wanted to make sure we were attached to him and made everything difficult. They certainly did that. I get Max Shulga vibes from Abdalis. Maybe that's the Euro roots a little bit, and having both come up in the Euro game. But if you made Max Shulga 6'9", and 215, then I think he's Abdalis. Really similar games, a lot of respect for him, but VCU did a great job on him today. And then the last nugget that I'll throw in there, everyone wants this matchup to happen more often, right? First time since 2013. Like I said, I know there's been a lot of consternation and maybe some smack talking back and forth about Tech not wanting to play VCU after losing by 30 in the Richmond Coliseum. I don't remember that game. Maybe there are some specifics other people can bring up about why that game left a sour taste in Tech's mouth like it did. But everyone wants to see this game more often. Phil Martelli was asked about it in the post-game presser, about if he and Mike Young, Mark Berman from the Roanoke Times asked that if they hammered out a home and home while they were together in Atlantis for these few days. And here's what Martelli said: "I'm all for it. We need those games. We want those games. I would love to play Virginia Tech every year. I would love to play Virginia every year. But it takes two to tango. We're on the dance floor by ourselves doing the robot. I do a mean robot, but we'd like to find a dance partner." So I told Phil Martelli that if we haven't seen his robot by the end of the year, I'm going to be very disappointed. So VCU 86, Virginia Tech 68 on Black Friday. Really good result for the Rams. I think certainly, keeps your hopes of building an at-large resume alive, right? Vanderbilt's really good. NC State's really good. Utah State is really good. You were in it, against the other two, and Vandy just played a heck of a game yesterday. But in less than 24 hours to bounce back with an 18-point win over an ACC opponent in Virginia Tech is obviously feels good for VCU, and now they're going to come back to Richmond with momentum and with the belief that this group is still very much capable of putting together an at-large resume. I think VCU shot up to number 42 in the country in KenPom right now after that result. So hopefully South Florida wins a lot of games this year. They were picked to finish second in the American, and Rams fans will be Hokies fans the rest of the year, hoping that this win can maybe, I don't think it'll get up to a quad 1 on a neutral floor, but it's a solid quad 2. And if the Hokies really turned it on, I think they have to be a top 50 for it to get up to a quad 1. Somebody check me on that on a neutral floor, but big win for VCU. Rams 86, Hokies 68. Terrence Hill and Barry Evans were phenomenal. And I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you guys and for the support and for the readership. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Everyone enjoy the holiday weekend. This is On the Horn. I'm Zach Joachim. Thanks for tuning in.